I thought you were so caring. I thought you were so loving. I thought you went out of your way to create these romantic moments for her. I thought you professed how much you cared about her. You're my wife and I'm your husband. What happened to that guy? Because you literally just exposed yourself as a fraud. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. But before we begin, I would like for everyone to check out my website, lavidarosastyle.com, where you can find cute accessories like the ones I'm wearing right now. Like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Everybody lost their mind this episode. What is going on? Thank God Noy came to her senses, okay? Because everybody else lost their mind. I just could not believe what I was seeing. I was so disappointed. I was so aggravated. I was so disgusted. It's like we got rid of one train wreck and they're like, oh no, we need 3 more to replace them. I'm gonna get into it, but first let me start with Noy and Steve, because like I said, she came to her senses. Later on in the episode, when she's talking with the women, she says that, I'm guessing off camera, Steve like really truly expressed how hurt he was by her ghosting him, and he was really being vulnerable and his voice was cracking and everything, and she realized she didn't want to be responsible for hurting him. Now I hate the fact that he had to sit up there and cry. I hate the fact that he has to be reduced to tears for you to realize you were wrong. Usually you kind of see the man in her role acting like she does, and a woman, you know, pleading with the man like, please, like, you need to see from my perspective that you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Usually we see the roles reversed. At least she got it, and she decided to make up for it by creating a little scavenger hunt for him based off of, you know, the things that they've done so far. And I thought that was cute because it's romantic and it takes thought and time. You have to put thought and time to things like that. So, you know, that's right up my alley, child. Later on, they discuss love, and, you know, she's been in love once and Steve has been in love several times, and he's had 5 serious relationships, and she's asking him, well, how do you know you're in love? And she's just so skeptical of him, you know, not saying it. And then the next thing you know, he took her on a beach date. He recreated their beach date from the honeymoon, actually, and he told her that he loved her. So it's like, girl, just be patient. Like, everything's not going to happen on your time. She really is very childish in many ways, and I just kind of want her to mature a little bit and realize that, you know, everything is not going to happen on your timetable, and everything is already accelerated. Anyway, I'm glad that they got through it though, child, without fighting and arguing, and they're in a good place. So let me move on. Let me just go to Lindsay and Mark. I just don't look at Lindsay the same way after last week. I already didn't really see it for her. Her level of disrespect for Mark is unacceptable. But at the same time, she will nag at this man until he believes that he's the one at fault and he'll apologize. And I just don't think that's healthy. Everything is always about her victimhood, and she just can't be bothered to take any sort of accountability for what she's done, because her behavior last week was completely unacceptable. I'm sure Mark didn't hear everything that she was saying. I feel like somebody should let him know. He could have just said, you know, I overheard you say it, because she was hollering half of it. She said she feels like he's the Debbie Downer to situations. No, girl, you like to provoke people and cause drama, and he is telling you he does not agree with you doing that. That is not being a Debbie Downer. That is a husband telling his wife he doesn't like her behavior. Like, he never does it in a disrespectful way. So you just don't want your husband to disagree with you, and that's unrealistic. And then she always has to throw things in his face that she's done for him. I've done all of this for you. I care about you. I went out of my way to do this. Like she has a savior complex. Yes. Do I think Mark is somebody that probably needs a little bit more organization in his life? A lot of men do. But are you doing it because you care about him, or are you doing these things because you want to receive praise for them later? Or when you get mad at him, you want to throw it back in his face? Because if you truly care about somebody, I'm not writing down a tally of all the things that I do for you. I'm just going to do them because I care about you. And it just seems like she just wants to have ammo to throw at him whenever they argue. I can't get with that conditional support. You know, I can't put it all on Lindsay. Mark has to put his foot down and not waver just because he's tired of arguing with her. He has to learn how to set boundaries. Whenever they were having a conversation about love, he said that when he would have a breakup with someone, he would run back to the ex before that person. I feel like that's another way that he doesn't have any boundaries, because if you're always running back to your ex, you don't know how to draw the line. I agree with Lindsay in that if you're done with your ex, you need to be done with your ex, and it needs to be a hard boundary there. Like, I'm not gonna cross this line, we're done. You know what I'm saying? It just he just anything goes with Mark. He just go with the flow too much. He needs to take control over his life. So to make up for what he did, he took her on a sushi date, and you know, he did something that he would never do for her and apologized to her. She did not apologize back, and I was over it, y'all. They went on another date too. I'm done with them. Jasmina and Michael. So Michael set up this very thoughtful picnic and bought gifts for her dog. And she said she loved that even more so than him buying gifts for her, because that's how much she loves her dog. So that was actually a very nice gesture of him to do. Okay. I feel like this was sort of like an olive branch. He's trying to get on the right track with her. And let me preface this before I get into their argument. Jasmina, if you're not going to let go of what he did, if you're not going to move past it, you need to leave him. But don't stick around and punish him for the behavior. If he can't do anything to make up for what he did wrong, then you just need to let it go. Because the way you behaved on this picnic was so uncalled for. I've been on your side. I've been defending you. But it's like all of what happened. Y'all said y'all was going to try to move past it. So he decided to bring up their communication issues, because, you know, they had a lot of them during the honeymoon. And when they first moved in, like, they had some serious communication issues. And it seems like he was genuinely asking her how she would like for him to communicate with her. Like, what do you want from me moving forward? And she immediately was very defensive. He was like, well, how do you want me to? You just need to talk. You just need to talk. Just be like a human being and talk. Like, how do you not know how to talk to someone? It's basic knowledge on how to have a conversation. Like, the things she was saying, like the way she was talking to him was very rude, very disrespectful. She had a very condescending tone. It was very mean and nasty. When this man is coming to you in a very vulnerable way, ironically, you wanted him to be vulnerable later on in this episode, but look at how you act. The way I saw him as like a dog tucked between his legs. Like, I'm willing to take down whatever bravado I had and go with whatever it is that you want me to do. And you kind of like stomped all over that. And it was so cringe to watch. And then something I found interesting is when they were going back and forth, she agreed that they were both speaking at an elevated tone whenever he was supposedly like going off on her. She claims that she wouldn't have if he didn't go there first, and she told him that he just needs to read the room and see the signs. But it's like he's asking you what are the signs? Like, he's asking you to give him a roadmap. Like, he don't know you, girl. Like, he's trying to get to know you just like you don't know him. Like, I don't know. It was just unfair the way she was treating him in that moment. He's clearly trying so hard to get that understanding. And she just has this very cold and stoic demeanor just in general. Because as I was watching further on in the episode, even when she was hanging out with the other ladies, she's just the type to just sit there and just, she'll just like very like stare down into your soul type of person. And you know, some people just have that demeanor. So I understand like some of that is just her nature, but it rubbed me the wrong way, the way she was talking to him. And then like when he was getting irritated with her, because anybody would in that situation, she's like, calm down and relax, when he wasn't even being loud or aggressive. And at that moment, I was like, maybe I made a mistake, because if you sitting up here telling him to calm down and relax, and he's not even getting aggressive, slightly irritated, but he wasn't getting rowdy, and you're like, calm down, relax, you're provoking him now. And it makes me think back to you saying that he was getting aggressive with you. If that's what you're talking about, girl, you dead wrong. And it just takes me back to when her stepdaddy told him that she likes to bully her boyfriends. And I kind of see where he was coming from with that. So later on, they're sitting down and having dinner together. And Michael tells her that earlier that day, because it was the anniversary of his brother's death, he went by his grave to pay respects, and he didn't let her know until that moment. And she was kind of like, well, you should have let me know, I would have went. He was like, girl, he doesn't feel safe to tell you anything right now. That didn't shock me that he didn't tell her. Y'all are not in a good space. Y'all don't really talk much. And then they started having a conversation about love, and I love how it remained civil. He said that being able to be vulnerable is a way for him to, get to the point of loving someone. So even though she kind of questioned that, she set up a gym date for him, which is good, because she went out of her way to do something that he liked to do, and it was something that she didn't like to do. But it showed that she was putting in effort. She did like a little gym obstacle course type of thing in their apartment, and it was cute. She played the trainer for the day, even though he's a trainer in real life. And so she set up a little stretching exercise where she asked him about, the loss he's experienced in his life. And he opened up about how he lost his brother. And it was very emotional, y'all. I broke down. I'm telling you, every time he speaks about his loss, I feel like I'm getting choked up now. It hit me hard because you see that he has a lot of repressed trauma deep down inside. And he really needed that release. He even said it at the end, like, I needed that cry. And when I tell you, he broke all the way down. He could barely speak at some point. It was very, as vulnerable as it gets, right? And she did go over and comfort him. And it was just a beautiful moment. On the after party, she said that it took everything in her not to cry herself, because she wanted to be strong for him in that moment. But later on in her confessional, she did cry. And I do feel like possibly that could have been a little bit of a breakthrough for them. But I feel like both of them have a lot of growth, a lot of compromise that they need to do. He could benefit from some grief counseling. I don't know if he ever has had that with all the loss in his life, but he could definitely benefit from that. And she could benefit from a little bit herself, a little bit of counseling herself. She has a problem with admitting that she's wrong, and even her friends have said that, and she could be very petty about it. And so she has to check herself on that. So it ended on somewhat of a hopeful note, but I was so turned off by her behavior earlier. I was just like, Jasmine, we were rooting for you. I was rooting for you, sticking up for her, putting my neck out, okay? Ducking and dodging all these darts of everybody trying to tell me about her. And here she go, proving them right. I was so upset. Olajuwon and Katina. You know what? I knew the real Olajuwon would show up eventually. It didn't feel genuine to me. I've been saying that since day one. And his representative only lasted 2 weeks. Because what was this? I was flabbergasted by how he was talking to this woman this episode. He's literally making this marriage all about him and what he wants. When do you ever ask her, well, how could I be a better husband? No, you're constantly pointing the finger and telling her how she is inadequate. When in actuality, I think it's you're the one that's insecure. You're the one who feels inadequate. You're the one who constantly seeks validation. And so because you feel like that, you constantly have to tear her down and tell her what she's not doing. And yes, I do feel like, maybe he does have valid points on certain things. Like he brought the fact after the housewarming, and he was like, let's clean up. And she like, I'm gonna clean this part. Let's just clean up. I agree with that. But the way that you handle it, the way that you spoke with her, your tone, your entitlement is the problem. The way you addressed her in that disrespectful manner is the problem. A bunch of stuff he said this episode was alarming. Just the way that he was talking to her, he was lecturing her almost like she was a child. Like, I just sent her to bed and I cleaned up. And then he said he doesn't want to help her grow as an individual. I thought that when people get married that no one is perfect and we all have areas of growth. Now, do I think that both of them were not ready? I do. I think that both of them were not ready to get married for different reasons, but I do think they had a lot more work to do on themselves before they got married. Yes. But I do think in a healthy relationship, yes, you do help your partner to grow. A good partner is going to help you to grow, because there's things that you know that you could teach me. There's things that I know that I could teach you. Now, the basics, maybe not, but if you're not learning from your partner, what are you doing? He acts like he doesn't need any sort of growth because he's already perfect. He's reached the upper echelon of being a husband. So then they start discussing past relationships. He criticized her for not crying. He wants her to cry more. He definitely achieved his goal by the end of this episode in the worst way possible. She explained to him how she has past trauma from being verbally abused by her ex. And that told me she has not healed from that experience. And you could see by how she readily accepts and excuses his behavior that she hasn't healed from that pain. And you could kind of see her go back to that place. Whenever he starts doing all this and talking down to her, you could see her recoil back into that place. And it's so disturbing to watch because she told him that and he was not compassionate in any way. He didn't say like, I'm sorry you went through that or anything like that. He basically was like, well, you can't let past relationships influence what you got going on now. And I want to see you cry, so you need to cry. Like, what? Then they answer the question, do you think you are beginning to fall in love? He told her to go first, but she could barely get it out of her mouth. He was talking other, well, I know you falling in love with me. I know you falling in love with me. You know, that inflated ego, trying to act like he's just such the best husband she could have possibly had. And then he proceeds to tell her that for him, love isn't even on the table. Like, she's not deserving of love, basically. And you know, like, of course you'll love me. I'm a catch, but you can't possibly reach my standard of love at this point. Oh, but nothing's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that. Like, he loves to like sprinkle in, oh, but nothing's wrong with that, even though you clearly have a big problem with that. And then what really broke my heart is right after that, she was like telling him reasons and ways of how she's going to change so that he will love her. And he knocked her down again and basically said, I don't believe it till I see it. And like, she just really has something to prove to him. And I was so disgusted. And then later on, when he was talking to men, he said he felt like he's babying her and she lacks life skills. Like, you're really talking about your wife like this? Like, I couldn't believe, like, if he heard her talking to her friends and saying those same exact things that he was saying, he would flip. And he said he's concerned that she's not going to be able to handle housework when she goes back to work. And it's like, well, since you have this 50s mentality, why don't you become the sole provider? That way she could put all of her energy into taking care of the household. Because you're sitting up here talking about, oh, she got to cook, she got to clean. Or if you ain't going to cook, are you going to clean? What else you good for? You know what I'm saying? Type of attitude. And it's like, you have this mentality, but you're not even living up to it on your end. So you expect her to go to work, pay half the bills, and take care of all the household duties. Boy, bye. And then he told them that he would have walked away if they were not married. What has Katina done that was so bad that he would leave her? That he would leave her, not her leaving him. What has she done? Like, I really need to know this, because I feel like she constantly cowers to him. I mean, he really acts like she be terrorizing him at home. And look, I'm not diagnosing the man with narcissism, but he has a lot of narcissistic ways, because literally to a T, this is very narcissistic behavior. Then he took her on a cooking date, which I feel like if it wasn't so passive aggressive, I feel like it could have been cute. But every time we turn around, yeah, you need to learn that. You look, if you cook like this, da 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 da. Very passive aggressive. He kept making passive aggressive marks the entire time. And then he was like, well, you stopped going to the club, but does that really mean that you're ready for marriage? And the thing is, she could really say the same thing about you. You took a year off from sleeping around with all these women, but are you really ready to be a husband? And then he starts saying, I paid off my home and I paid off my student loans and you haven't. What can you do outside of me independently? Berating her for not being where he is in life and trying to make her prove her worth to him. And it like the way he was berating her was just unsettling. It made my skin crawl. And then he was like, you didn't even get the food for my housewarming. My housewarming. You didn't even get the food for my housewarming. You told your friends to get it. And it's like, who cares if she had it delivered? Who cares if she had her friends get it? Who cared if she got it herself? She got it done. She orchestrated it. That's what a wife does, right? And he was trying to make her sound like she was incapable. And then he gets to, well, are you woman enough for me? Basically attacking her womanhood and reducing her down to cooking and cleaning. Well, if you're not going to cook, what you going to do, clean? Like on some Kevin Samuels, what do you bring to the table type stuff. You could literally see him trying to break her. And by the end, she was in tears, literally crying her eyes out, and he had no sympathy. I thought you were so caring. I thought you were so loving. I thought you went out of your way to create these romantic moments for her. I thought you professed how much you cared about her. You're my wife and I'm your husband. What happened to that guy? Because you literally just exposed yourself as a fraud. He was clearly love bombing her. And at this point, I'm like, where are the experts? Why are y'all allowing these people to be abusive? Somebody should step in at this point. I know these are grown people, but these are candidates that y'all chose. And they are being toxic and harmful to their partner. Like, somebody needs to step in. Like, just the same way that we felt like somebody should have stepped in with Alyssa and how she was treating Chris, somebody needs to step in. This woman is breaking down. Anyway, you guys, that's it for my review. Let me know how you feel down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I would love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.